So to help us along, we've got a bit of a preview of everything that's in the show. But before that, I've got to invite the lady herself in. Gemma, just here.
No. Keep away.
Explain.
Yes, it's okay.
Explain.
I was in Australia last week for 4 days, as you are, and somewhere either in Australia, in my seminar layover in Singapore, or on the plane, I picked up some ghastly lurgy.
Oh, I'm glad
So if I sneeze, cough, splutter...
I'm glad you said lurgy. I was wondering who you picked up. You know what you're like. Now, the thing is...
Don't make me cough.
I'm determined to make her cough this morning.
Yes, that really is most... Now, listen, I have a present for you.
What do you have for me?
I thought I'd bring an Easter egg.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
You thought about it, that's all.
No, it's a 2.5-hour drive. We had the grandchildren yesterday, and they were staying in our room because the other spare rooms, the ceilings come down. So I had your Easter egg in the car, and I ate it.
Oh, Jennie.
Sorry, it wasn't a very big one, but I was rather hungry at about 5 to 5.
Do you know what? I'm going to forgive you.
Yes?
For 2 reasons. Number 1, it's Easter, and number 2, I would have done the same thing.
Good.
Right, OK then, we've got that out of the way, haven't we? Very much. But we've got loads of Easter eggs backstage.
Good, well,
yeah,
that's
so that's great.
then.
Now, good morning and welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to sort of do it, as it were, the quilting. But more than that, we've got some bits and pieces to help you. And one of those things, first things I'm going to talk about, is a sewing machine, because without a sewing machine, it's a little bit more laborious, isn't it? Just a tad. Hard
graft. But some people like to do it by hand. And that you cannot take away. But if you want speed, you've got to produce something. You're working, you want to make a quilt, make a garment, make a cushion, then the machine helps.
Now, if there's one brand that's seen more quilts go through them than any other, it's probably got to be a Singer, isn't it? 307920 is your item. For our first item, the Singer Confidence. Oh, I like the word. This is...
Instills you with confidence. It's got a whole load of feet with it, too. Mega quantity of feet.
But the feet have been chosen, and this product's been chosen because we are talking about quilting. This is the sewing machine with the free handy chest. Steady. It's Sunday.
I'll keep my chest handy.
A free handy chest worth $29.99. Hey, let me show you my reels. Look at this. Look at the whole selection of goodies in here. Look. This is free.
That's 20, 40 reels, scissors, pins, all in a handy
little
carrying
pink tape
case.
measure,
yes.
which you love. All in a handy carry case, comme ça, that you can have el gratis. And more than that, we're going to offer you one of 9 books. So you get a free book as well. You can choose one of them. Now, we've got lots and lots in here. We've got Sewing Machine Accessory Bible in there. We've also got Fabulous Mending Solutions. We've also got Hanging Hearts. We've got Patchwork.
Mug rugs, all sorts of things on there. Quilted flowers. There's one by Wendy Gardner as well.
Oh, no, we're coming to it. The Zaka Style Gifts, here's one. Love to Sew, that's the first option. Patchwork Bags, that's a sewing machine. Patchwork Bags, you could choose that one if you wanted to, as a freebie. Mug Rugs, that's still a sewing machine. The Mug Rugs, get rid of it, Chris. The Mug Rugs, if you want to go for one of those.
But they're small projects, you see.
Mend and Make.
People don't want to do an enormous thing. Fantastic.
Mend and Make.
Skirts, tops, trousers.
Now, Beginner's Guide, Wendy's book. Now, this is a good book.
Wendy is writes well.
Yes.
I will honestly say, hand on heart, Wendy does write extremely well. There are many people I'd nitpick about, but our Wendy, and indeed Lorna Knight, who's written it with her.
There you go.
Writes well.
So you can choose one of these. Remember, it's your freebie. What else have we got for you? Another one. The Sewing Machine Accessory Bible, for all the bits you think you need and don't know that they exist. This will tell you what they are and how to use them. Then dressmaking. Maybe you want to go straight into dressmaking. Make clothes for yourself, you see. Complete Dressmaking Skills. That's a book you can choose as part of your freebie. Hanging Hearts. We've all had one of them in a time, haven't we? Hanging Hearts. Have one of those. A stone on a bit of string once I had.
Did you?
And then Quilted Flowers. All those. Now, and they are a choice. You don't get all of them. You get a choice of one of those. You've got to pick one of those books as your freebie into this kit. £359.10. But the best thing about this offer, as we start the show, is, of course, that it's 4 flexi-pays. Maximum interest-free. Oh, you can plug everything in, Jen. The 4 Flexi Club payments, $89.77 to start with, and obviously every time you add an item, we will divide that into 4 payments, and on it goes. So it's the easy way to pay. And I've just picked up my new sort of flexi-pay item. I have rolling flexi-pay.
How can you have rolling flexi-pay?
Because just as one's about to finish, I order something else.
Oh, so it
just goes on and on.
Now, tell me, if you order one thing on Crate and Craft on FlexiPay, and then you keep on ordering through the day, does it go in the FlexiPay
as long as you don't check out.
Right. So you can just sort of stay online.
You could have thousands of pounds in there.
And all spread out over FlexiPay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, interest-free credit. You go to any other store and say, can I have this over 4 months interest-free, please?
Yeah.
And they go, pardon, excuse me, sorry, credit card, okay. One store I phoned the other day, listen to this, didn't take debit cards. We don't do debit cards. I mean, what do you mean you don't do debit cards? I said, I don't do ordering from the store. Bye-bye. Anyway, now let's move on to item number 1. We're going to flash through these because I want to get on with the classroom.
We've got absolutely got to.
Okay, first one here is the Jennie Rayment Fat Cats bundle with the easy quilting of free. Forgot the word free.
Yes.
Free easy quilting dress
You buy that.
You buy that.
What does that do?
Can you see that?
Cats.
Wait, that's not right, is it?
No, hang on, we'll put this behind it. This does cats.
This does cats. That's the cat one.
In a variety of sizes. Or you can do applique
Fat cats. Not what you thought it was, is it?
Okay, so fat cats.
Fat cats.
This one does jelly rolls. Okay, and that's to do, well, you don't know what jelly roll is, do you?
What's a jelly roll?
Extend your left arm. That's a jelly roll. Jelly roll is a collection of 2.5-inch strips.
Right.
When you sew them together, you have to cut them up into the correct sizes. This ruler is marked out for correct sizes for all different ways of cutting up a jelly roll, and for cutting up honey buns, and for cutting up layer cakes.
I'm so glad I came.
Right.
And the free bit?
It's a Dresden plate. And very quickly, so we can show people a Dresden plate, it was on the Quilting Classroom quag. Oh, quick, let's turn it right side out, because they don't all know. Because this is a freebie. This is such a useful.
It's a quilt in a bag!
Yes!
I want one!
There you are.
That's a Dresden plate there.
In a variety of different sizes.
Do you get that free? Can you see it? There it is. It's there, look. Can you see it?
About 15, 16 pounds, that.
31.48 is free. 307 778. You get the Jennie Rayment Fat Cats bundle, and you get the easy quilting Dresden acrylic plate. If you bought it separately, £10.99.
Really?
Yeah, there you go. Freebie. Right, move on.
Right, okay, move on next.
Move on.
Right,
now.
Interesting bits.
Accessories. When you're starting out.
You've got to have pins.
Check.
Absolutely, 100% pins. You need masking tape. This is 1/4-inch masking tape. You might say, why? Because you've got to sew a 1/4-inch seam.
So you need 1/4-inch masking tape?
Well, that helps to mark it on something perhaps you're going to quilt along.
Fabulous.
This you can draw beside. 1/4-inch, accuracy we're going for.
Hold it still, Sally. 1/4-inch. This is a plastic rod, but it isn't a plastic rod. It's a 1/4-inch plastic rod. It gives you perfect.
And when you draw up beside it, look, with the pencil that you get free with this, you hold the pencil at 45 degrees to the plastic rod to get really close to it and accurate. You do not hold your pencil like that.
And if you've got people around who want to be really patronising, you could use it to point.
Quite.
Good. Right, OK, that's a free bit. We'll come back to that in just a second. We've also got some more pencils.
We've got 3 different colour pencils here. You've got light, medium, dark, so you can do light, medium, dark fabrics. Those are washable and they wash out.
Fabulous.
This is great because it sticks on the ruler, you see, and holds the ruler to save you getting the risk of running the rotary cutter across your fingies.
Genius.
So that's what that does.
More pins.
Right, more pins. They're my favourite pins, those. I like those. Invisible. Now, that is invisible thread. Because sometimes you want to sew across multicolours. And you don't want to keep changing your thread. That's great.
Oh, that's why you're here. And then finally, look at these.
Now, they are very good. They're curved. And they're curved because they get nice and close to the seam. And they really do nip those threads, because we don't want dangling threads, do we?
We want dangling threads. Now, those 2 items together are free, so that combined is about £14.98 as freebies in this pack. And by the way, because it's free, you can't just ring up and order the free bit. They come inclusive with the kit, but we're not charging you for them. T's and C's, etc. 30777. I've been doing this for 20 years, love. 20 years. 30779. The Simplicity Accessory Bundle with free scissors and the quilter's pencil. Brand new today, 1882. Now, cutting you just mentioned.
Yes, cutting rotary cutter. This is a clover rotary cutter, and it's a righty left-handed one. Nice green shade, so it's distinctive from any of the others. What I like about clover, I don't know if people can see this, there's an R on it, and that means you're going to help keeping the pieces all the right way up, because when you take it apart to change the blade and everything all falls apart, it's much easier if it's marked. Clover always do their things, so they actually are together. Absolutely, you know, every box is ticked. £15.29 for the ultimate cutter, rotary cutter, because of course you're cutting the fabrics, whether it be across the brass or down, whatever it may be, that's the job. 07826, it's brand new today, £15.29. Batting, and we're not talking about cricket. No,
we're talking about
wadding.
Stuffing or
and
wadding.
This is a really good size wadding. This is bigger than we usually have. This is the king size. This is 120 inches by 120 inches. That is...
That's a lot.
A lot. That's 2 lots of me high and 2 lots of me along.
That's quite a lot.
Yes. Yes, and you would have a whole lots of
Imagine Jennie laying down.
Yes.
37855. This is the Heirloom Premium 8020. £31 and 49 pence. We bring it into the show. It's on there. Get it on your list. And remember, if it goes into your flexi basket, divide it by 4. Okay, excellent, excellent. Now this is a big one.
Right, okay, this does a wedge. This is one of my favourite tools because this is a 10-degree wedge, and you could take, say, your jelly roll.
Indeed.
Or you could take strips of fabric.
Right.
You stitch them all together to make a band, and whether you have it that size or that size or that size, you then cut the pieces out. When you put them together, they will make a circle like what's on the table over there.
Let's say, oh, sorry. Just put my arm in the shop then. Anyway, I've been doing this 20 years, as I mentioned. Look at the quilt on the table. You can make circles, because obviously with these little tiny triangles...
They're trying to get there.
Go,
there we are. Well
really
done. Nearly there. Got it.
Hey, a sunburst that is for me.
Yes.
Lovely. 1529. If you want to be able to make that 10-degree wedge, you get lots of...
Dead simple.
Dead simple.
Yep.
So easy. Quilting ruler 274051. Right. Okay. Moving on.
Right.
To,
you don't know what this is.
Right.
Okay. This
I don't know what this is.
This is real good fun.
Is it?
Okay. What you do with this? What
Right.
you do is you sew a pad of fabrics together.
Yeah.
So you can have sort of 5, 6 layers of fabrics. They can be all different colours. You sew them together with fine lines of stitch, and if you wobble a bit, it doesn't matter. It comes with 2 different cutting blades. This one has a long, thin edge that goes up between the lines of stitch.
Oh my
And you
word.
just push. And as you push, it cuts all of the fabric but the bottom one, which is why you always make the bottom one a little larger. And you literally slash it. It's making slash fabrics. When you've done that, if you wash it and tumble dry, look what happens.
OMG
It all goes furry,
is the phrase.
you see? So that was fun.
That's how they do it.
That was some gold with some silk on it.
Hang on a minute. Just
Sorry.
go back a bit.
No.
Go back a bit. Look. I always wondered how they did that.
It's furry, you see? It's strokeable, tactile.
That's how they do
You can
it.
make garments, you can make cushions, you can make bags.
You pair of trousers made out of that. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Dolphin trousers.
They'd be warm too.
Wouldn't they just?
Gold with a bit of brown silk in it. That was, again, various different fabrics. This was doing it with some wool, which I have yet to finish. And then the other one does circles.
Really?
So I thought, what would happen if I did circles? So there you go.
And you did circles. Look.
In fact, it doesn't necessarily do
Fluffy circles.
It does smaller up curves and things. So you can have real wiggles across
But you know what? What a great vintage effect.
Yes.
All because of that.
Yes.
Buy it.
Yeah.
15,
we
29.
filmed that last time.
Well, I can understand why. Because that makes you look better than you are.
Yeah. And you see, if you wobble when you sew, it doesn't matter. Because by the time you wash
Slash it and yeah.
And it's great. And if you don't really want to wash it, you can rub it with one of those wire brushes, and that brings it up a treat too.
Do you know what? She's genius, isn't she? 291372. That's the clover slash cutter. Let's go. On the way past, don't forget the sewing machine. It's
with
here.
the walking foot, the free motion foot, the patchwork foot, the everything else, and the free threads. Right, 12.5-inch square.
And also, remember, it's all on 4 flexi-base because it's the Easter giveaway.
Hey!
So glad I spelt that right.
I'm glad you
Now,
did.
okay then, moving on, because we have, some would say, I suppose a table mat.
You always need a square.
You always need a square.
And this is a nice square. It's clearly marked. It's a 12.5-inch square marked out an 1/8 of an inch, anything from a quarter up to 12.5 inches. I mean, people like here, oh, she's banging on about those things again. If you want to do patchwork, folks out there, you need a square. The end of story.
Okay,
so whether
you've
you
been
have
told.
that square,
You've been told.
you know, it makes life so much easier.
Well, that's why we want tools, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all about tools. 303-500 is the item number for this one. It's a 12.5-inch square inches quilting ruler for $15.29. I mean, if you've still got that flexi basket open, pop it in with the sewing machine. So it's a bit quick this morning, but we want to get on with the classroom, as you know.
Right.
And
Okay, but this is the Easy Peasy DVD, and it was aimed at real raw beginners.
She's very good, this woman.
Is she?
She's very good,
I'd be
apparently. She's very well known.
Really?
Yeah, regarded in the industry. And also she does quilting.
Oh, does she?
Yes.
Oh, that's useful. Well, I think she's put together 6 different blocks, and basically this is a workshop.
Okay.
So it's a workshop in a box. You have your own personal trainer in your
Fabulous.
home. And it takes 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you see exactly how you do this and how you do that.
Is it step by step, Jenny?
Very much step by
Okay.
step. Absolutely.
Talk us through it.
Build on.
Because even if I've never ever quilted before, ever,
Okay, how I planned it, how Jennie Rayment planned it,
of course,
was she started off by dealing with strips, because you can cut strips, you're away. And that's something called rail fence. If you can cut strips and stitch them into a band, which you cut up, you could then do log cabin. Log cabin is strips, and it involves a square, so we teach you how to cut a square. I then moved on and did more squares, so a big square and 4 small squares to check piecing. If the small squares fit the big square, you know your piecing's accurate and your cutting. Then we looked at doing more seams, and there's a rectangle involved in there as well, so again, accuracy and a bit of applique. Then I take you through something called half square triangles, because if you can do a half square triangle, there are zillions of designs open for you, and then finally I end up with that. So it's building on
building
learning.
blocks, or squares even. 306 133, buy that today. Pregnant pause works in TV after, I think. Right, now, ironing. You're thinking about ironing when you're...
You see, when you've got to get into really little corners and nooks and crannies, I like doing this, this iron is absolutely great for sort of ironing into all those little crevices on perhaps shirts. Your dress shirt, you must have got a dress shirt with frills on it.
Indeed. I did used to have with the front, not frills, but those slash things, what are they called, pleats?
Yes.
A box pleat.
That's right.
Makes my chest look bigger.
Well, quite, so you can sort of pop it up.
Exactly.
But this is very good for that. It's also very good for anyone who has dolls' houses, does miniature things, and for taking to class for when you're doing patchwork. Right. And if you're at home and you don't want to get the iron out, this thing comes out, doesn't take up much room, plug it in, rest it on the rest, Bob's your uncle.
Mini iron, basically.
Mini iron, yes.
Okay. Well worth having. 192-527 is your item number. The clever mini iron. It's the perfect patchwork, as we say, craft project and applique. This little tiny detail applique. You want it to be perfect because people will judge you. £35.99. Now, there's another flexi pay option here. Rather than spending the £300 to get your flexi, you need to spend £35.99 to get 2 club flexi pays, or £18 per payment. But keep it open, because as soon as you check out, you've got to come back and start again. You don't want to do that, because you've got the
Keep a rolling on one, like
me,
you do.
like what I does.
Yes.
Now then, this is fun. Rotary cutting bundle. I'm thinking of getting something like this myself anyway, just at home, because I haven't got a cutting mat, and a cutting mat is essential if you want to protect your work surfaces at home. Simplicity Rotary cutting bundle includes this and a rotary cutter. Now this is the 45mm, which is like the mid-range, perfect one to have, isn't it?
I think everybody has one of these.
Okay.
Some of us have the bigger one as well, some of us have the smaller one as well, but everybody has one of those. And this mat is great because it's feet and inches on one side and it's metric on the other. So
fabulous.
Patchwork that side.
Boom. Oh, there you go.
And then you metric on that side. This is righty-handy, righty-lefty, doesn't make any difference.
And a spare blade.
Yes.
We give you a spare blade as well.
And the price is cracking there.
£22.49 is amazing, because you pay that just for the mat in some places. 259-153. Now this should be £39.97 this bundle. So already we've got a bundle for you here, because we put it together, reduced the price. It is Easter. No giveaway per se inside that, but the giveaway for me is the price. Yes. That's the thing. Right, moving on to 2 more fantastic books by that. Oh, that lady again, Jennie Rayment. She's prolific.
Now, right, these are 2 very different books. One is my very first book I wrote, which will cover you through things like tucks on the front here. We've got panels of tucks when we've done the book, and we've got cushions, and we've got weaving, and we've got waistcoats, and we've got things called trumpets and badom, 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 badom. Light-hearted, written as I teach.
Good stuff.
So that's
to understand.
Absolutely.
Lovely.
And it's clear. The next one is slightly different, well, it isn't, it's completely different. This has 12 blocks and associated projects, and that has the quag in it. So if people are waiting to see how you make a quag, the quag's in the book. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Well, there, stop.
Oh.
This is the quag, and there is the quag. The quilt that turns into a bag.
Do you know what?
Okay? And when you open it out, the quilt you've got inside is that one, which could be any quilt. I mean, you don't have to make that quilt to go into that bag. It just explains that.
Make a quag, it's brilliant. 302-929, £23. It sounds like something I made up.
Yes,
£23.39. You've got books and tucks and textures and pleats book bundle. Both those together, you pay nearly 30 quid for. But today, £23.39. I know. Oh, don't worry. It's okay. We've got it covered. Right, coming at the end. I wish I was
doing this to me, but my husband had to buy loads of these copies so I can flog them for more.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, I wish I had one of these yesterday. Tell the story quickly to Jenny. Yesterday we were cutting out all the curtains for the lodge at the coast, and there's 9 windows in total. The west wing, I think it is. And the thing is, this minute I had 2 ladies in the house. The west wing of the lodge. Right. And the thing is, they said to me, just from nowhere, while I'm sitting there drinking my coffee and doing the crossword, do you have a steel rule? 12, no, when you did 24...
Well, when you're in the west wing of the lodge, of course...
I said, where am I going to get it? So anyway, I took the wardrobe door off.
Right. So your poor
mother-in-law and other half
had to do their measuring.
On the floor?
On the floor.
It wasn't measuring, they needed a square edge.
Right.
And I was thinking...
They could have had one of these and one of those, because they could have put one like that along the selvage.
Straight edge. But the main thing was, Jenny, what it was, you know, with fabrics, 90-degree edge, they wanted a square edge. That's what you need.
Yeah.
We wish we had these yesterday.
Yeah, see, and then you can move it down, move it down, move it down. I mean, these are brilliant for anybody. Anybody doing any fabric, any paper cutting,
Not
anything.
just quilting.
Not just quilting.
This is for everything. If you're dressmaking, all sorts of things. You'll see these on those BBC shows about sewing and stuff. £44.99, worth their weight in gold. 250371. You're watching the Quilting Show with Jennie Rayment. It's coming up very soon. The classroom begins any moment. 250371. Have you noticed something else at the top here? Another red box. Another red box up there, which means £22.50 is your first price. And if you want to add anything to it, you can, including your sewing machine, etc. But the funny thing about it, if you added the sewing machine to this bundle,
you then get 4
this becomes 4 flexi plates. Do you see how it
divide
works?
that by 4, it's only 11 quid, £11.25, 24 3/4 or something like that.
Correct.
Yes.
You got it.
Which really does spread the load.
It does. And on top of all that, we've had some more giveaway items as well. Have a look at this, because as we go on, we have for you the Easy Angle 6.5-inch acrylic triangle with free mini angle templates. You buy one, get the other one free. Worth £6.99 to you today, £11.69. That's number one. Number two. Now, acrylic template, this is the square this time, the junior acrylic template. This is the easy square with the free mini square acrylic template, £11.69. But the freebie is worth £6.99 again, so free with our Easter giveaway. Now, 307967, the third one, we've got a book for you, 20 to make mini bunting book. Now, with free 20 to make jelly roll scraps. Now, we saw the jelly roll scraps a little bit earlier on with Jenny. Thinking, I'll buy that, what do I do with them? Well, this is a great way of getting a free way of doing it, if you know what I mean. £4.49, the affordable entry level for your quilting this morning with Jenny. It's, the freebie, actually, that is worth £4.99. And then we have for you another book, 20 to make fabric flowers. Now, you know how important fabric flowers are, or flowers generally in crafting. We've got that, but we're also giving you free to make 20 to make bunting and pennants book. So that comes inclusive. That's worth £4.99 again. So there's another freebie there. This is the £11,000 Easter giveaway. So we're not just giving away, it's not like chocolate and eggs and things like that. It's all crafty stuff. Straight after our birthday, we thought we'd just sort of give you even more to celebrate of this springtime. 307969. Now then, obviously coming up next we do have the lovely Jennie Rayment, who's going to be taking you through our next classroom. If you'd like to have a look at this, you can go to our website. It is crazycraft.tv. The video coming soon. It will be on here after this. The April lesson after this show will be available on the webs, and everything that she's going to be using in the show and all the tips and bits and pieces will be available to buy as well. So a good chance to get involved in the big Easter giveaway and with April's lesson here with Jennie Rayment. So then, that's just about it for what's in the show, and here it comes. Remember, she's here every month. Here's the lovely Jenny to take you through the next lesson.
Wondering why aren't we doing the quag? Well, the reason for not doing the quag is that the templates for the major part of the quag bag I want to use haven't arrived in the country. And it's Easter. Hey, come on, do we really want to do anything serious? So I thought, let's do something really daft. Let's do 3 daft, silly things. So we are going to start off with, and don't laugh too much, my son, when he saw a picture of this that I put on Facebook, absolutely fell apart. And he said, Mother, if you dare to do that on national telly, I'll disown you. So I'm awfully sorry, child, you're going to disown your mother. So these are chicken bunting. Now, the reason for doing chicken bunting is quite a lot of you missed, because you were doing Christmas festivities. You did not see the owl bunting. And the owl bunting is up here on the screen, just to show you what the owl bunting looked like. So my animal bunting started with owls. And then I thought, what can I do? What can I do that's silly, easy, quick, that anybody can do? Chicken bunting. Now, it did actually occur to me that perhaps the chickens would have been better with orange beaks. But these, I have to assure you, are a very special brand of chicken. These are Rhode Island black-beaked chicks. They come from squares. All you need to make one of these is 2 squares. And my son said their feet were particularly obnoxious. But hey, come on, you can personalize them. This is a bit of fun. We're not being desperately serious. To make my chicks, and you will find it's all on the PDF, I had 5-inch squares, 2 of them. And this is where this ruler is so useful, the square, because it cuts any size of square up to 12.5 inches. So pop it on a corner of the fabric, cut just straighten the fabric up as best as possible. Incidentally, I did a foolish thing. I forgot to bring my nice big cutting mat, so I'm using a smaller one. If you cut round the square slightly more than the amount you want, we want 5 inches, take the square off, turn the fabric round through 180 degrees, and then replace the template back in the corner, and it sort of eats its way on. When it's eaten its way on to 5 inches here and 5 inches there, you can then cut up the other 2 sides. So there we are, 5 there and 5 there. And the nice thing about this ruler is that you've got it black lines one side and red lines the other. So you get a black number there and a red one there. It's ideal for anybody who's left-handed or right-handed. Right, there we go. Now, to make one of these wonderful, fantastic chickens, you need 2 squares. When you've got 2 squares, what's going to happen to them is one of them needs to be pressed. Now, you might choose to have your chicken from 2 different colours, so 2 squares of 5 inches, or 6 inches, or 7 inches if you want bigger ones, or 3 inches if you want mini ones, doesn't matter. One of them has to be folded in half and pressed along the diagonal, and that's where, now mine isn't on, the little clover mini iron is really good for just pressing that little fold, and not damaging the edges of the fabric or stretching it, just pressing that. Having pressed the diagonal, you open it up, and you bring one point to touch the centre. So in other words, I'm just turning a corner in to touch the centre line. And you press it again. I mean, it's not exactly difficult, is it? Having done that, mount one square onto t'other, like that. And you could pin them in place. And of course, if I'm going to pin them, I like to use my nice flower pins. And I'm afraid I'm one of these people that A, doesn't sew over pins, and B, I tend to have my pins pointing outwards if I'm pushing the fabric out. So my pins I like to have going in the direction I want the fabric to be pushed. Your seam allowance can be anything you like. But if you wanted to do a 1/4 of an inch, this little Singer Confidence machine comes with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. It not only comes with a 1/4 inch foot, rather, with a 1/4 of an inch foot, which is a nice one because it doesn't have the nasty flange down the side. It also comes with a free motion foot, a walking foot, and indeed that great big box of threads, and the free book. And I would suggest you have perhaps the one on how to use a sewing machine if you're not sure. So you could put the 1/4 inch foot on, or you can, if you wish, keep the regular foot on and move the needle. And you move the needle by being in straight stitch mode and literally moving it with the stitch width down the bottom here. That's your length, that's your width. Why they will not these days write L for length and W for width, I do not know, but nobody seems to want to do that. But hey, come on, you can work it out. You're now going to sew round the edge of these 2 squares. And this is seriously complex stuff. I tend to start in the middle of one side, so edge of presser foot on the edge of the fabric. You can sit down when doing it, and you're going to set off. Just cut my thread off there. Thread saver's got caught up. There we go. Take the pins out when you get to the corners, and I slightly round the corner off. This is the corner on the diagonal crease, so slightly round it, because that's his wing, or her wing, I suppose. Doesn't really matter which way you're going. Right, proceed along. Now, okay, I know you could make a template for this, and we are going to waste a bit of fabric. What you are now going to do, and if I take that pin out so you can see more clearly, is you're going to sew along that creased line. This is to make the chicken's bottom, because it needs to have a flat bottom. Raise the presser foot and sew along the line. And if you didn't hit the line, it doesn't really matter. So you get to the other side, stop, turn round, up the other thing towards the other wing, up here, slightly roundy corner, drop it down there, take your pins out, and finally back to where you started. So basically I've sewn down one side, roundy corner, straight across the bottom, roundy corner on the other side, and back up to where I started. Let's get my foot on foot control. There we go. And on this edge, make it a nice sharp point, because you want to have a good beak to him. There we go. Right. When you've sewn all the way round, don't forget, as soon as you finish sewing, lift the presser foot and sew onto your thread saver. It does make life much easier. Right. We've now sewn right the way round the entire thing. And it's at this stage now where I will trim off the various pieces. Rotary cutter, or you can use scissors. Cut off the bit at the bottom. Now, if you're feeling really sort of mean, you could keep those bits. Round off the corners. Cut off the point. Round off the corners. Now, it is up to you as to which of the 2 sides is going to be the front of your chicken. and it's that side you're going to make a small slit in. When you come to make a small slit, those curved scissors will be absolutely ace. They didn't give me a pair of curved scissors. This last week, what with Australia and everything else, and my son's birthday yesterday, life's been a bit busy, that and being slightly degrees under. So make a slit. You're then going to turn it through the hole, and this is where that bamboo pointer is absolutely ace. Now, sadly, you're going to have to buy one of these, because I was made by one of our viewers my own. So Morwenna from Conwy, thank you very much indeed for that. It's an absolutely ace one. This is good, but it's not quite as good as my special one. Delighted. I shall write her a thank you note. Right, when you've turned it right side out, poke the corners out, poke his bottom out. Don't worry about the slit up the front, because that's going to get covered. Now, to cover the slit up the front, he needs a chest of some sort. I used a bit of yellow fleece. You could use yellow felt, you could use any colour you happen to fancy. All you really want is a sort of a lump. It's a sort of arc-shaped lump. So I've got a strip of fabric, probably about 2.5 inches by about 3.5 inches long, folding it in half, and I'm just going to make a sort of lump. And that's going to be his front. What will happen, though, before I stitch it on, is he's got to have some feet. Now, this is where I had a lot of problems, because how am I going to make feet? How am I going to make them really easily? Now, you can be highly inventive, and you can perhaps make some incredible feet by knotting bits of string together. I'm afraid I went for the seriously easy option. I took a couple of bits of felt, took my scissors, and this is what my son objected to. He said they look like those fish and chip forks you get. Well, what did they do? It's fun. Come on. So, having cut the feet, if you wanted to, you could give it slightly shapy legs by shaping them. There we go, up there and along there. And then the feet get laid down before we stitch the front on. All right, don't forget. So feet go down, and this is where you can add personality, because you can have the feet sticking out on the corners, you can have the feet sticking out how you like, you can have one foot longer than the other. Pop that on top. And what I would suggest you do then is thread the machine up with thread that matched the fabric. And all you're going to do is a zigzag round the edge. So here we have a zigzag round the edge, right the way around the entire thing. And it doesn't have to be desperately accurate. I mean, here come on, they're chickens, they're live animals. As you sew around that, the entire thing, of course, you're anchoring the legs in. Then to finish it off, the top end here gets folded over. You want to cut a beak, and you'll probably want an orange beak, unless it is another of these Rhode Island black-beaked little chicks. I laid the beak down. I then stitched the beak literally in place, a couple of stitches, just on the machine using a small straight stitch. Having stitched the beak in place, I then added eyes. And the eyes could be buttons, they could be wobbly eyes, they could be little circles of felt, they could be absolutely anything you liked. And what you must make certain is that through here, of course, it's kept free, because that's where you're going to put the string to hang the chickens up on. So there you are, you see, that is chicken bunting. And if you didn't want to do chickens, you could change them and make them owls. The choice is entirely and utterly you. So there you go, chicken bunting. That wasn't that ridiculous, was it? No, of course it wasn't. I know you're all sitting there with your cup of tea and coffee and what have you. And here I am slogging my what's-its out, working hard. The next thing I wanted to do, because I was sort of keeping the animal theme, was to run through again how we do the chicken pincushion. Now, this is all in the PDF. The chicken pincushion is a variety of something called log cabin. Now, for those who are very new to patchwork, log cabin comes in this particular DVD. And this takes you through, step by step, every single block that's on the thing, which is 6 blocks. The blocks are actually behind me on the wall here. There is your log cabin block, made of 4 squares of log cabin. You could have made 1 square and made it bigger. There are the other 4 blocks that are gradually taught to you as you work your way through the DVD. And it's exactly as I do my demonstrations here. It is step by step. You do this and then you do that. Now, log cabin is usually a design that is a series of strips around a center square. And on the DVD, I have 1 center square and then a series of just a couple of strips one side and a couple of strips the other side. Traditionally, in log cabin, you will find that the center square is usually red, and the strips one side are dark and the strips the other side are lighter. This is because of the darker the fire and the lighter the fire. It's an American Not an American patchwork in such. We thought of it, but in America they took it to their hearts, and they call it log cabin because of the structure of the block. So that is the dark at the back of the hearth. There is the fire. This is the light coming out from it. And I had some of these blocks, spare ones. I thought, oh, I don't have to make my pincushion that size. I could make it this size. And indeed, as I drove along here this morning, I thought if you made it really big and you used up a jelly roll or something of that nature, you could make a bean bag because you could stuff it with beans, as long as you remember how to sew. So, let's see. Yesterday, very rapidly, I had very little time, this is why this is appallingly badly stuffed, I used 2 of those squares to make a bigger chicken. Now, if you wanted to use this as a door weight, you could put small stones in it. You could put sort of heavy beans or seeds in it, but don't let it get wet if you've got seeds or beans in it, because they can sprout, and then you get sprouts coming out the seams. Small stones are probably better. It would make a child's toy. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. If you are going to make it as a child's toy, you would give it eyes that the child cannot possibly pull off or suck or consume in any way. So the principle can be done any size. Log cabin. Now, this particular little log cabin chicken is done in the log cabin method, but worked from a center square and just working on 2 strips going around it on the outside. How do you do it? It is not difficult to do. You need for the middle a 1.5-inch square rather, little 1.5-inch square for the middle. And this represents his face. There is your little square for the center. I then use for my pincushion, just because I happen to have lots of them, 3/4-inch strips. What's going to happen now is these strips are going to be stitched to that center square. Let me go back to the one I did here, then you won't get confused. When it comes to doing log cabin, make certain you've got a nice straight end to begin with, so chop off any selvages or nicks in the fabric. Lay it onto the block, and we want to make certain we are right side down. Because it's so small, it will actually pay you to cut this strip off to that length to fit the square, because there just isn't room underneath the sewing machine to cut off when you've sewn it. Proceed in orderly fashion down the side of the little piece. There we go. When you get to the bottom, raise the presser foot, pull the work round, open that out, finger press it, take the next strip, and I'm using 2 strips of the same colour, align it with the top of the little piece there. Let me cut my thread saver off and you can see more clearly what's happening, because I know you'll all be peering at the screens later. So line the strip up with the very top of the section there. It'd be quite nice if you check that everything's relatively straight, but hey, come on, it's a chicken, does it really matter? Shove it underneath the presser foot, lower the presser foot, and you're going to sew down. Now, because this side's a bit longer, I can actually leave my presser foot there and just trim this strip off to match that one. So I haven't got to align this one and cut it off from the beginning. Down to the bottom, raise the presser foot, pull it out to one side, open it out. And then you're probably going to want to go back onto your thread saver again. And how the chicken is built up is you do a series of L's for log cabin down one side only. So I've done those 2 L's. I'm now going to take another strip of fabric and stitch it down that side, open it out, just chop it off and you can see, and then stitch another little bit. This is great for getting rid of all your rubbish. I mean, you can make them for charity. You could sell them. Other strip goes down there, opened out. And gradually you build it up so you end up getting bigger and bigger. So there's the next 2 strips on. And it doesn't matter if they hang out a bit, because you're going to square it off afterwards. I would go on for 4 rows of my 3/4-inch log cabin. Then, because the end one I want a little bit bigger, I've cut a 1.25-inch strip and finish it off with a bigger strip. It just gave you a bit more room for his bottom. Again, right sides together, lay it on the top there, underneath the presser foot, stitch, go down a short way, hack it off. It really is not rocket science. But think how long it would take if you were doing it by hand. When you get to the bottom, turn it round, open the seam out, stick the next bit down the other side. Now, chickens have 2 sides, strange enough, so you have to make another one. And whether you make it the same, does it matter? I mean, it's on the other side of the chicken, and let's face it, none of our faces are the same. So if it's not quite the same on the other side, don't panic. There we go, cut that off there, nice and flush. Right, Right, once you've got your 2 halves of your chicken done, you will then need to square them up. And that's where that square is so really useful. Because you can put the square on top and you can actually square it up. I mean, I know it's a big square, but I find the big square is nice because you can just pop it on there and square it up. So I would put the square on the top there and cut both pieces back to being the same size. I can just get 4.5 inches out of that. So if I put my square in the middle there, guard off my rotary cutter, cut up one side, cut along the top, get rid of the rubbish, turn the square to 180 degrees, replace the square on top and trim back to being 4.5 inches. And remember, you're going to want 2 of these. All right, so don't forget, we want 2. Right, how the chicken then gets finished is when you've got those 2, it doesn't really matter what colours you use, you need to cut yourself a beak and a wattle, that's the dangly thing beneath the throat, and a coxcomb. And what I do with the beak is just literally a lump. I very often stitch an eye on at this time because it saves doing it later because I'm idle completely. The beak goes on, so the beak goes into the chicken. Don't put the beak that way round because you'll have a strange surprise when you turn it right side out. Beak goes in. Wattle goes below beak, again going inwards. And the coxcomb on the top goes inwards. You take the other half of the block, which of course you stitched an eye in, you put it on the top. Now, this is the most important thing. That is the chicken's head. This is the end of his back, that's his front. This is his tail. You are not, promise me, going to do any stitching at all in that area. Just promise me. Now, I would ideally pin those in place, but just let me show you the stitching. Right. So I'm going to sew from the start of his back. When I get to the front of his face here, I like to just round him slightly, because chickens don't usually have sharp points to the top of their heads. Round there. Come down past his beak and his wattle. When you get to the breastbone down here, this is really Easter. I mean, you're going to probably have a chicken for lunch. Round it on the breastbone. Okay, a really good round on there because it gives him a nice front. And to the end. And nobody is going to sew that bit, are you? I can all see you nodding. No, miss, we're not. We're too terrified to. She might give us the death stare. Having done that, I trim off any excess fabric and you turn it right side out. When you turn it right side up, amazingly, because you have the beak and the wattle and the coxcomb in the right place, there's your chicken. And it's at this stage where you can stuff it. And you could use any sort of stuffing you liked. I use on pincushions, I will use some sort of pearl barley or something like that and endeavour not to get them wet. You could put filings in. There's all sorts of things to do. But if you are going to use a hard substance, then I put some wadding in first, put the hard substance in, and then put a bit of wadding afterwards. And the way that the chicken gets his shape, this is the magic bit, you then stitch it together like that, okay? Because that's what gives it the back of the chicken. And before you finish off stitching it together, you could tuck a little tail in. And all I did for the tail was something called somerset, which is a square folded into a rectangle, fold over, a couple of stitches across his bottom, and then you stuff it up the orifice. On there. Let's put a couple of stitches on there. There we are. So, nearly done the chicken. We're going to do a fluffy cat in chenille. I do like that chenille cutter. So, having stuffed your chicken, remember, you're not going to stitch it flat. You are going to take top to bottom and stitch it like that. And his little tail gets stuffed in the what's it there, and there is your little chicken pincushion, your doorstop, your beanbag, or whatever. Okie dokie. How about a furry cat? Let's have a look at the furry cat. Move all this out the way. I have another glorious mess to take home. Right. The Fat Cat's template. This is, I like this template. You can use it for doing really big Dresden plates with. It will do a 12-section Dresden plate. You can use it for just taking wedges out of, say, a strip of fabric. So there's no reason why you can't take a strip of fabric and just cut wedges out. 12 of them would go together, and if you put them together and work them round, you'll get this rather nice striped effect. So you could use up all your spare bits of fabric. You could do your fat cat as an applique, And all you're going to do when you applique it is to put some form of bonding substance on the back of the fabric, pop the template on the top, decide whether you want a tall, thin cat, or whether you want a short, fat one, or whether you want the stripes to go whichever. Let's have a tall, thin one on this one. There we go. Go to there, I think. Maximise the fabric. Cut up one side. And you never cut towards yourself. If I brought my own cutting mat, it would have been better. All you do is flip the fabric over, replace the template, and pop it on there. And then it's at that stage where you could use the excess fabric for making the ears, and all the ears would be a couple of triangles. Let's do a very rough couple of triangles. Very rough these. So that'll do one off there. Take a backing square to put it on. If I have a backing square to put it on. No, let's not worry about a backing square to put it on. There we are. There's my backing fabric. So take a piece of fabric then to put it on. Peel the fusible web off the back. Stick your cat down. Pop him that way, and I can fit his ears on. There we go. And then tuck his ears in, which have now completely vanished. There's one. There we go. And then just literally bond it in place. Well, I feel that bonding is absolutely fine, but it is cheating slightly. Because to my mind, you should learn how to piece it. How are you going to piece it? Well, it occurred to me that you could actually use the chenille stuff to make a fluffy cat. So I took a whole load of series of calico, and you could make it in different colours. You could do a tortoiseshell one. You could use up all your scraps. Stitched it with all these long lines of stitch. And it does get a little bit boring, but you just go up and down, tuck the cutter in, go in the hole please, and push it through. And you just keep working, working, working. It's not, again, very difficult. When you've done that, wash it. Now, if I hadn't had green socks in the washing machine, this would have been considerably whiter. From this piece, I can now cut out a fat cat. And I felt I wanted my fat cat to have the wiggles going across it in that direction. So I simply cut the end off. There's my ruler gone to? There he is. There we go. Levelled off one end so I could decide how big a cat I was going to have. Go there. And you want to keep this because it's really useful for something else. That's it. And then flip it round, and I'm going to have, I know, 8.5-inch piece. What's 3 from 8.5? There we go, 11. And this cat can be any size you like. Right, and keep these because they're really useful. Replace the fat cat template, pop it on the top there. And you can now decide whether you have a short fat cat or whether you have a long thin cat. The choice is yours. Let's go for one that big. Cut up the side. And then to finish it off, the trick. Now this is another trick. If you can't be bothered to turn the fabric around, turn the cutting mat round. Sometimes that works as well. There we go. Oh, dear, it does help when you're cutting through a lot of layers to apply a little pressure. I think I must be more ill than I thought I was. Lacking in pressure, all the blades blunt. It went to Australia with me, so who knows. That's the reason why I'm wearing my badge on the front. A, because I can remember which way up I am, and B, remember my name. Now, the trick is now to make the block so you can piece it together is you need to cut a strip of fabric, whatever that height is. Now, it happened to be 8.5 inches. So I'm going to cut an 8.5-inch strip. It can be a square, it can be a strip, but it needs to be bigger than 8.5 in any one direction. Oh, that is, fortunately, I think it is 8.5, isn't it? Yes, it is. It is 8.5. Right, so I can either have a square or I could have an oblong. Let me have a square, 8.5. I could either use my ruler, since it happens to be at hand, or the big square. Right, and then however you do it, take the fat cat, fold this piece in half, lay it on the template, on the cutting mat. Make certain the fold is accurate with a line on the cutting mat. Take the fat cat template, pop it on there, and what you're looking at is getting the fat cat template lines aligned with the cutting mat lines, so they're nice and straight, and the very tip of the template just going through the top of the square, the strip, the whatever. Hand firmly on it, guard off your cutter, cut up the edge, you're done. Now this will make the two pieces that are going to go either side of the block. One's going to go there and one's going to go there. And that will square it off. And when you stitch the two together, put one on top of the other, and this is something called bias piecing, where when you align it, you'll actually have, if the camera can get in this close, they cross over. And it's where they cross over, that's where your seam allowance goes in. So they should cross over top and bottom. And you'll stitch one bit onto one side, one bit onto the other side, as I have done here. Now, this isn't a furry one, because I just didn't have enough time to make enough chenille. Having done that, his ears. And his ears I made out of things called Somerset Baltimore rosebuds, which are a small strip of fabric with a seam allowance folded over, folded into a triangle like that. The triangle's wings come in and it folds over again. You want to put a couple of stitches across his bottom to stop it from undoing. You can see the stitching on there because I did it in cream. Make 2 ears, and it doesn't matter what size they are, you can adjust them. The ears go into the cat either this way round, or I actually prefer them that way round, so with the folds on the back. Make certain you don't have too long an ear, unless you've got a particularly long-eared cat. Pin them in place. You will then need a strip to go across the top and one to go across the bottom. So here's one I did earlier, there we go, where I have pinned and stitched my ears in place. Whatever that length is, you cut yourself a strip to go across the top, stitch, flip. Whatever this length is, you cut yourself a strip to go across the bottom, stitch, flip. So we've framed it all round. Having framed it all round, another glorious mess I'm going to have to sort out. I have no idea of how many hours I spend sorting things out. Fold the ears back. And incidentally, on this particular block, I'd usually have the seams going towards the outside edge most of the time, simply to spread the load and have the cap sort of sitting underneath the border. Ideally, it would be better to have it the other way around, but then they have a problem with the ears, so seams in one direction. When you got to that stage, you can add eyes, and hey, come on, you can do any sort of eyes you like. You could add beads. You could embroider. Oh dear, embroidery. You could make his nose from any bit of thread that you liked. And what I tended to do with this was I just cut a length off, sort of wound it round several times around my hand, and then tied a knot in the middle of it. There we go, a very small one. That's it. And the knot in the middle would actually represent his nose properly. These are very small whiskers. You could make the whiskers longer, extremely small whiskers. Never mind. This would be a short whiskered cat. There must be a variety of short whiskered cats. Yes, you're saying. Yes, yes. There we are. That's really badly and awfully done, but never mind, it'll show you the trick. That then gets stitched in the middle with a few stitches in the centre there, and you can trim his nose off, his whiskers off. Don't use real whiskers off your cat. It really is most unfair. And if you add then a tail, and the tail could either be applied, and it could be a piece of felt, or you could open the seam and tuck the raw end in. There is your cat, your furry, tactile, textured chenille cat. Got to have that thing. And there it is. I would then frame it round the edge, and you've got a pattern, a pillow, a block, a this, a that. So there you are. You see, you've got the fat cat, you've got the chicken, and you've got the bunting. Come on, Ardeen.
All right, I'm there.
Oh,
I was just having a nap.
I thought you were. Mind the floor, please. It's full of pieces.
Right, I've got some emails.
Oh, really?
People have been emailing all about
Yes.
you.
Oh, I tell you what.
I've left some out.
Right.
But can I do them?
Yes,
You're
please,
happy?
yes.
I feel like I'm the guest.
You
So
are.
I am, aren't I?
Yes.
Can I? Yeah, okay.
You may. Look,
Can I
sit.
just sit? Yeah, thank you very much. Right, okay, this is what they're saying. Happy Easter, by the way, to everybody.
Easter, yeah.
This one's from Pauline, who says, good morning, everyone. Jenny, Dean and all. A few months ago, my name was picked up the cup, and this is what you sent me, Jenny, and I've made lots of them with the spare bits of fabric ready to make a big quilt. I've put some of the pics for you to see what I've been making. I'm happy that you're on the show again. You're a brilliant teacher, you are.
Thank you. Thank
Look
you.
what she's done.
Oh, that is
The
super.
little bits. So
right.
this proves the bits that get sent out do get sent out.
Well done.
We don't just make it up.
No. And they do something with it.
There you go, and you do something.
Yes, thank you.
We go
Much
for it.
appreciated
Okay,
that.
set one out there. Must stop licking my finger when I do this. Oh, there's another one. Oh, she's done another one. Look.
Right. Did I send
I've
you
got
those
another.
bits as well? Probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
You send out so much stuff, you can't remember what you sent out. Look, how busy she's been. Look.
Yeah, amazing. Right.
Well
Super.
done to you, Pauline.
Excellent.
Great stuff. We'll put your email in, but
Well,
not
I
your
tell you what
pictures.
we could do this morning is get rid of some of that chicken bunting stuff to the next person we draw out the pot.
Really?
Yes.
Gosh, she's giving us some stuff away.
Yes,
Okay.
so better email in very quick.
Right then, who else we got here? This is from Ems, who's in Swindon. She said, quilting on a Sunday, what a great start to the day. It's so good to know that there is a set time for quilting. It's here. I love the classroom. It's a great way to learn and gain the confidence to have a go. You get to see how to use the tools and see how useful the tools are.
And they then run the video, which you can can then watch for weeks afterwards.
Indeed. On the website, quiltingcraft.tv, push the button that says play. Who's this from? This is from Marilyn, and she says, happy Easter, Jenny and the craft team. Thank you. Jenny. I love all your quilting shows, and that's why I spent all my money. The question, Jenny, please.
Yes.
Why are there so many kinds of batting? I have bought all sorts, but I've never seen this lovely heirloom batting. The roll looks so big for my smaller project. It looks too big for my smaller projects. Can it be purchased in smaller amounts?
Yes, it can be purchased in smaller amounts, but why don't you just cut it up?
Oh, why don't you just cut it up?
It's cheaper in big quantities.
Yes, it is.
The reason
Buy in
why
bulk.
I like it is that it's lovely to hand quilt on, it's lovely to machine quilt on.
Okay.
If you put the fabric, the layers onto the batting and then lightly press them,
okay,
it slightly sticks to the furry side. It's a natural batting and it works really well.
There's something luxurious about the batting and finishing.
Occasionally, I used to use a lot of this.
Oof.
Sorry. It is horrid. It's horrid to touch.
Itchy.
It's all right for stuffing things, but animals, chickens and stuff like that. But it's not as nice to quilt on. And also it can shift and it can creep. Whereas the Hobbs one is, and if you're long arming or if you're doing it with a free motion foot, it's just.
Yeah, but also there's that little bit of I don't know what's it with quality.
Yes.
You know, that finishing. It's
It
all about the
drapes
finishing.
beautifully
There you
as well.
go. If you want a
Absolutely.
quilt that drapes
don't want that
beautifully, don't use the itchy stuff.
Yeah.
Right then, I've got to get you to choose a winner of your stuff you're giving away, and I don't know about it.
Yes.
Because you organise that.
And I forgot to tell you, see, I should remember to tell you. What it's going to go to, if you can have all the chicken stuff, it's going to go to Heather.
Heather, who's in Mansfield, who we didn't read the email. It proves that they all go in. Also, remember, everything you've seen, everything you've heard, anything you want to buy is on the website at quiltingcraft.tv, and this lovely lady will be seen there again. Is this it today?
Yes, yes.
Just the one
yes,
you know, some rest?
Going home. Yeah, I'm actually probably going to bed.
Have some rest, my darling.
Yes.
Because
No, well,
come on, that's it.
Okay,
okay then, Jenny's going to have some rest, but crafting continues. Lee's up next, and I'll be here in an hour's time with some Pergamano. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks, guys. Good morning and welcome to Sunday, and a happy Easter to you all here from Create & Craft. Coming up this morning, Dies with Sue Wilson, the Weekender, returns for you here today. Pergamano, as Dean just said, is coming up with him at 10. But up next, one of the biggest brands in craft, and we're talking Spellbinders here at Create & Craft.
Since the dawn of time, crafters have searched, explored, and have discovered one destination. One day, one time, where one epic deal is launched every week. The pick of the week launches Friday and every Friday, midday on Create & Craft.
What do I love most about the Create & Craft Club? It has to be the 10% discount on our amazing range of craft products. We already have great prices.